Is this working? Oh, cool. Here we go. Hi, everyone. I got it working. I also made a couple changes today. One is I learned how to set the video to something called ultra low latency. So I'll actually be able to answer comments live finally, which I'm really happy about. For a while, you guys would ask me questions and it took me forever to reply because there was this crazy lag between my video and YouTube, but no longer. I found this ultra low latency setting, so now from now on, ideally you'll be able to ask questions and I'll be able to answer right away, which will help us when we're doing like debugging or anything like that. That being said, welcome to Coding Club. I wanted to do a bit of a like video game theme. So this one, we're not going to make like the most fun video game in the world because it's the first class when we used to do Thursday Club, which was like the more advanced club. We actually spent like 4 or 5 weeks just building a video game. This isn't going to be that. I don't want to do anything that complicated, but I do want to start working on projects that have like some kind of interaction, which is what we're doing today. How are you all doing today? So the link to today's project should be in the description, but I'll post it directly in the chat as well. Cool. So basically, this is a project where we have a character and it moves around and interacts with different things on the screen. Hi, Juhi. By default, you're going to have this Grumpy Cat here. I'm actually not going to use Grumpy Cat just because I don't want to. I think it's more fun to use like a different character. So I'm actually going to go, before we start coding, and choose my character. I'm just going to go to the Creative Commons Media Search and look up like a video game character. Like, is that cool? Video game character. I want it to be a graphic. Let's see. I kind of want it to be an animal too, so I'm going to say like maybe like an otter character. As anyone who's been here a long time knows, I play a lot of Animal Crossing. So I'm thinking about like Otter Man right now. These are all terrible. Okay, I'm going to use this. I'm going to have a family of otters. I will leave this page open so that I can give this person credit at the end of my project. But this group of otters is what I'm going to use during this sort of like pseudo video game that we're making. For everyone who just joined, there is a link directly to the tutorial that we're doing here. So before doing anything, the very first step we see on the left is to click on a Grumpy Cat graphic. Like I said, I'm not doing that. I want to use this group of otters instead. If anyone knows what a collective of otters is called, let me know in the chat. I know there's like a pack of dogs, a murder of crows, but I don't know what a group of otters is called. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this into here. Probably should have changed the name of my file because now I have this really long name here, but that is totally fine. So if you're following along, as always, you can follow along live during the video, or if you're more comfortable, watch and then code along on your own. This link to this tutorial isn't going anywhere. It's totally up to you. If you do code now, I'm able to show your project at the end, so that's one of the benefits of coding along with Club. So the very first thing that we're going to want to do is edit the different properties of this graphic, things like scale, things like opacity. For those of you who have been to other clubs, you already know how to do this. If you don't, that is 100% fine. I can go ahead and click here and go to the full reference for the graphic. And just to do that really quick, just so everyone saw it, you can always click on the names of these functions and go to the full reference, and it'll show you all of the properties that you can edit. So things like the X and Y value, things like the scale, things like the opacity and rotation of this graphic. It's all available there. So everything that you've learned, you don't have to like keep it all in your brain all the time. You can look it up and you can like use what you've learned in any project. So this is telling us, these instructions are telling us to edit the graphic, scale, opacity. Obviously, my collective of otters is quite large, so I'm going to want to make it smaller. But the very first thing that I'm going to do here is change my variable name. So if you all remember, variables are containers that hold different things. In this case, they're holding my collective of otters. So I'm going to go ahead and change var mygraphic1 to actually be otters. You probably want to change your variable name to anything that makes the most sense for you. So if you have a group of cats, for example, maybe you don't want to call it cats. If you have a group of wolves, maybe you'd want to call it var pack. Or, I don't know, if you just have one grumpy cat, you could just call it cat. So I'm going to go ahead and change the size of my many otters. Otters scale equals 0.5, which is just going to put it in half. Hi, what's that? That's actually probably a bit too small. And you guys, as you know, or as you might not know if you're new, you might not, what am I saying? You don't have to make a project that is exactly like mine. We're all going to be making something that's kind of a video game where we click around and interact with objects, really more like the building blocks that we can use to then make video games later. But your project doesn't have to look like mine. It doesn't have to have the same graphics as mine. It doesn't have to have the exact same interactions as mine. I'm just sort of giving you these building blocks for a project that you can personalize and make your own. So going back to my reference, I'm going to change, I don't have to change the X and Y because these otters are actually going to follow my mouse around. Your graphic also is going to follow your mouse around, so I wouldn't worry about the X and Y yet. I'm going to change the rotation of my otters. So someone's asking how you change the size. That's this dot scale property. So by default, dot scale is going to be 1. Anything under 1 is going to make it smaller. Anything over 1 is going to make it larger. Mine is otters because that is the word after var. So my variable name that's holding my otters, in your case holding your cat, for me it's called otters. By default, it's called mygraphic1. It might be mygraphic1 for you. So whatever this says, you're going to use this word to change the properties under it. So potentially mygraphic1.scale equals 0.5, and that'll make your cat smaller. That's how I change the size of my otters. I think I like the otters rotated. Do I? Do I want rotated otters? I don't know. Yeah. It makes them a little bit more fun, maybe. Are otters fun? I feel like I always hear that in aquariums otters are actually really gross, which is a shame because I think they're absolutely adorable animals. Okay, so I'm gonna move on, but if you are still working on your graphic or really at any point in this, if you need me to slow down, just let me know. It looks like we don't have that many people today. It looks like we are at 9 right now. So just let me know. And I can always slow down or speed up. So the next thing that I want to do, I'm going to make these otters smaller. There we go. Is actually have these otters move based on where my mouse is. So for those of you who have been coming to club a lot, this is going to make a lot of sense to you. For those of you who haven't been coming as much, there's going to be a lot of code here that might not make a lot of sense, and that's okay. It'll make more sense the more we use it. But basically, a repeat is the same as it is in Scratch. It just puts code inside that gets checked over and over and over again instead of just getting checked once. So to have these otters, or in your case, your cats, follow my mouse around, I'm going to drag in this repeat block. Bam. Nothing's going to change yet because I haven't added any code to it. but inside I want to change the X and Y position of my graphic. Mine is called otters, but you're going to use whatever your variable name is. And I'm just going to write otters.y equals mouse.y, and then otters.x equals mouse.x, and otters.y equals mouse.y. And there we go. It'll move based on where my cursor is. That's all it is. It's so easy. I'm going to post this in the chat so you all have it. Obviously, you wouldn't say otters.x and otters.y, but mouse.x and mouse.y is going to be the same for all of us. I'm missing a semicolon. So this isn't perfect. I kind of wanted a bit more like centered around my mouse. So I'm, instead of this, just mouse.y and mouse.x, I'm going to say mouse.y minus 50 and mouse.y minus 40. And all that's doing is moving my otters more to the left and more down. There we go. So I'm sort of moving this block of otters around from the center instead of from the top left corner. This is looking good. This is a solid collection of otters. So I'm going to click next and go to step 4 out of 14. And this is the step where I'm actually going to add graphics to my screen for these otters to interact with. Remember, this is the sort of like first of how we're going to make a video game essentially. So this isn't going to be a video game, but we're going to have the elements that would be in a video game. And that includes things like being able to interact with other objects, right? So here I need to choose the graphics that my otters are actually going to be interacting with. They can be things like food. By default, we have these fish bowls here. Otters do like fish, so I am going to go ahead and drag in this fish bowl that you also will have in your media gallery. I'm going to change the variable name to bowl. Let's see, what else do I have here? I'm trying to like choose graphics that I already have so you guys don't have to watch me like looking up more graphics. I have this hot air balloon that's kind of cool. I guess the otters can interact with the hot air balloon. And then I have a dragon, which is like kind of a bold move. It would probably just eat the otters if this was real life. But dragons are kind of cool, so I'll add that. So here I'm going to say var dragon. Remember that your variable names can really be anything. They're just a way to make it easier for you or anyone watching this later to sort of be able to read your code and know what's referring to what. Okay, cool. So here, next I'm going to go ahead and change the X and Y and scale and rotation properties of these different graphics that I just added and move them around my page. Luke's is saying, why am I getting a syntax error? There are a lot of reasons why you might be getting a syntax error. You might be getting a syntax error because something is spelled wrong. So like this will give me a syntax error. Actually, that's giving me graphic is not defined. So it's been a little bit hard to share code in this situation, but Luke, so you can either copy and paste your code, or if there's too much code, you can just submit your project and send me the link, and I can remix it and help you debug that way. But I would say the easiest option would just be for you to like copy and paste your code in if you don't have too much. Okay, I'm going to position these graphics. Obviously, use the variable names that you've chosen. You probably didn't choose bowl, balloon, and graphic, or dragon. But if you did, then you can just follow along exactly. Let's see. So I'm going to move the balloon first, just because it's like taking up everything. So I'm going to say balloon.scale equals like 0.4 to make it smaller. Yeah, so Luke's, it's a little bit hard to post the code directly, just because, so this is the first part, var otters. It's not going to work for you as is, because this graphic is going to be different than yours. I uploaded this on my own end. And then this is the repeat function. Once again, this is only going to work if your variable name is also otters. Luke's, I would say the best thing to do would be to post your own code, and I can debug it from here. Oh, awesome. Sweet. Thank you, Luke's. I'm going to get rid of my code here. So usually when it says syntax error 100% scanned, it's because you're missing like an open curly bracket or a closed curly bracket, or sometimes an open curly brace or a closed curly brace. So it looks like on this one, at least with the code that you posted, your repeat function isn't closing. There we go. It's still not working. So all I did was add like this to the bottom. It's not following my mouse though, which is confusing. No, that worked. I'm not following my mouse around. So your variable names are definitely right. I can double check just by pasting this, but it seems like it's working. So then the next thing I would do is just like move these manually. Weird, weird, weird. Luke's, when you add that code into your project, does it start working? I don't know why I'm not able to get it to follow my my mouse. I wonder if this is like a bug. I'm gonna refresh my page. Okay, there we go. Okay, it's working. I don't know what was wrong. Okay, perfect. It's working for me too. I think I just like, I don't know what was wrong on my end. But it looks like we got it working. Okay, cool. Thank you all for being patient. If anyone else has code to debug, or also when I put it in my code editor, if you like see what's wrong, help, share in the chat. It's always more fun when we all help debug each other's code. It's something that we did a lot when this club was on Zoom, and I feel like something that I haven't been able to replicate well on the YouTube version. If you ever see me looking left, I have like 2 computers set up, and that's why. Okay, cool. I am going to go back to positioning my different graphics around. I'm going to move my balloon to the top right corner of my screen. I'm going to make it smaller. And I'm going to give it a rotation. I'm actually going to move it down a little bit with .y. And I'm going to give it a rotation of like 20. Like -5. There we go. Just like a little bit of wind on this balloon. The dragon obviously needs to be much larger. It's a dragon. It should be bigger than the balloon, in my opinion. So I used dot scale for that. I'm also going to move it down. So I'm going to use .y, dragon, the name of my variable, .y. And I'm going to move it down to, I don't know, 100. That looks fine. I'm not really feeling this purple background. Some of you know how to change the background color, but just so you know, it's movie.background equals, and then you're able to just put in a color, is how I think it works. Movie.color. Okay, so it's movie.color, not movie.background. So just do movie.color equals any color. It's a string, so it has to be in quotation marks. Once you have that, you can just click it and choose a color to your heart's content. I kind of want like a nice dark blue, and I think that looks really nice. Okay, here we go. Let's move my dragon to the right. And I'm going to give my dragon a rotation as well. Too much rotation. There we go. I like that. I like it like being a little bit over my balloon. Like it feels like they're interacting. They won't be, only my otter will be interacting with things. But I like that this feels like it's interacting. For those of you who have just joined, we are following along with this tutorial. Feel free to join us. I think I was on step 4 before I reset this. Yeah, here we go. I was on step 5. The other thing we're going to move is the fishbowl. This fishbowl is too big, so bowl.scale equals 0.5, I'm going to say. And then I'm going to move it to the bottom using .y. I'm going to move it to the right a little bit with bowl.x. There we go. Okay, this looks good. My otters have this whole area to explore. I feel like this dragon is actually like stressing me out with its placement. I'm going to rotate it a little bit more and move it maybe a little bit over so it's not like completely covering that thing. Yeah, okay. I think I prefer like a slight overlap instead of like completely covering the balloon. Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and press next. You don't need this many elements on your project. I have 3 here. I have the fishbowl, this dragon, this balloon. You don't need that many. Feel free to add as many or as few as you want. So now the next part is to make a text block. I'm going to go and drag that in. It's going to say var myText1 equals text hello, and it's causing this hello. Oh, Luke, so what we're making is, I guess I should have shown this in the beginning, but it's essentially, let me show you an example. I should have started this way. Not everyone joins the same time on the YouTube ones. What happens when you guys join late? Are you not able to join beforehand? So this is what we're going to be making. It's this like project where Grumpy Cat walks around and like interacts with different objects. It like picks up food. It can hit the walls. It'll like say different things. So this is what we're going to be making, which is why I said it wasn't like quite a video game, but has like, you can see how these sort of elements lead to us being able to make a video game. And like mine's a bit more insane than the one you just saw because, I don't know, I'm in a mood to make something with dragons and like 70 otters. So this text area is what Grumpy Cat was saying. In this case, what my like group of otters is going to be saying. So I'm actually going to delete this. So it's just an empty text function. And then I'm going to change the name to just the message. Okay, so now we have to make the text block say different things when we click our project. We're going to do that with this when mouse down button. Our code's going to get like a little bit crazy real fast. So don't feel like you have to do every single part of this project. If you're feeling really happy with it right now, that's fine. If you want to keep following along, that's also fine. And then that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the very bottom of my code. For me, it's line 31, and drag in this when mouse down function. So I have this code canvas.whenmousedown function, and all this is doing is listening to my project for when I click. So in here, if I write, let me move this down so you guys can see my console. So if I write like log clicked. Can you guys see my console now? Yeah, perfect. And move this around and click. You can see that this log message clicked appears right here. So that's all it's doing. I'm going to want to change the message when I click on it and change it again, whether or not it's sort of clicked on different elements in my project. Okay, so the next part that we need is to add an if-else inside this click. And that's because we want to know if we're clicking on these different elements. I want us to know that this works and I don't want to run out of time. So I'm actually going to add a message when I just click no matter what right now. So inside, I'm going to say canvas when mouse down equals function, and then inside, if you guys remember, I can change my text information with dot message here. The same way I can change the like color and size. The message of the text is actually a property. So here I'm going to say msg, which is message.message, which is maybe a little bit confusing, but it's just what I call the text object in my code. And then I'm going to say equals, and inspired by Alexander in our comment section, I'm going to say nice. So now when I am going around this new otter world and I click, the message in the top right corner will say nice. Perfect. So let's go ahead and drag this if-else statement inside of our when mouse down function. You see my code, I added a couple spaces under where I changed the message, and then I'm just going to drag this if-else statement in. This drags in a lot of code. It's not indented correctly, so I'm just going to delete this comment that's here and actually take the time to indent all of my code. You can see that we're starting to get a lot of curly braces going on. So indenting my code will help me keep it organized and debug it later. Okay, cool. So now we're going to want to change the message based on where we are and when we're clicking. Basically, we want to be able to check exactly where someone is and only show a message if they're like on the dragon or on the balloon or on the bowl. To do that, we use this plus plus operator. Like I said, if this is the first time you're using conditionals or if else statements, I wouldn't worry too much about this. We're going to get more into this in future clubs. So for this, I'm going to want to say and by the way, there's like a crazy storm here. So if I suddenly disappear, it's not because I wanted to end club early. It's probably because my house lost internet or power or something like that. So here, I want to say if my otters are less than, because do you see how I can see my X and Y value here on the bottom? So I want to say if X is less than 173 and Y is greater than like 320, I want to eat the fish. So here I'm going to say if mouse.x is less than 160 and, which is these two plus signs, mouse.y is less than, greater than, sorry, 340. And I'm going to say, instead of message.nice, I'm going to say message.message equals yum fish. Let's see if it worked. So I'm clicking around. It says nice. I click on the fish. It says yum fish. So it looks like it worked, which is awesome. So I'm going to just like leave this here for a second so you guys can look at it and add something similar to your own code. Basically, this is checking if my mouse, when I click, is left of 160 pixels, and if Y is greater than or below 340 pixels, show this message instead of nice. And I'm just gonna like leave this here for like the next 30 seconds so you all have it. Okay, cool. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually make this fishbowl disappear when the otters eat it. I'm going to do that by changing the opacity. So my fishbowl graphic is named bowl. Yours is whatever you named it. It could be my graphic 1 or 2 or 3. It could be something else. Maybe you called it fish. So here I'm going to say bowl dot opacity, and I'm actually going to set that right to 0. So now when I move my otters around, nice, nice, yum fish, and the fish are gone because the otters ate them. So here's the code for that project. Like I said, bowl is just the variable name that I chose for that graphic. You may have chose a different variable name. Cool. So now I want a different interaction to happen with this balloon and a different interaction to happen with the dragon. Yeah, of course. So this project is actually like getting a bit too complicated for me. I'm actually going to get rid of the balloon and move the dragon up because I think it would be funny if like the otter eats the fish, but like the dragon eats the otter. So that's what I think we're going to do here. We're going to take this in like a slightly different direction. So I'm going to go ahead and change the rotation of the dragon. Move it over to the right a bit more. Okay, awesome. So now if I click around, it still says nice. If I click here, it says yum fish. And if I click the dragon, I want it to say oh no, and I want the otters to disappear. So here, this just says else, which means if this isn't true, do this instead. I don't want that. I want it to be specific to where the dragon is. So I'm actually going to say else if instead, and add an open parenthesis and a closed parenthesis. And I'm going to pause for a second here. What sort of code do you think would be inside of this else if? So this code checks if I am by the fish, but I want to check if I'm by the dragon instead. So what sort of thing would I be looking for in order to do that? What do you guys think? I'm actually going to stop messing around because I feel like I'm going to lose power here. So I actually want to see if I'm greater than a certain y value and greater than a certain x value. You can see here I checked if I was less than the x value because I'm seeing if I'm to the left of a certain point. Here I want to see if I'm to the right of a certain point. So I can see here that like at here, no problem, Luke. So you can post your code. So here I have my project here, my mouse here, and you can see as I go right, it gets larger. So I start at 326 and go all the way to the right. So here I'm going to say if x is greater than 320, and because I want both things to be true, I want my x value to be right, but I also want my y value to be right. So is y less than 385, it looks like. And this should be mouse.x actually, not just x. Mouse.y is less than, what are we saying? Yeah, like 380. And so then I want message.message to just be, oh no. And I want my otters.opacity to be 0. All right, Luke, I'll get to you in a second, okay? So here, I have basically what to me is the finished project for now. If I click around, my otters are just gonna say nice. If I click the fishbowl, it eats the fishbowl, it says yum fish. If I click the dragon, it says oh no, and the otters go away. So I'm feeling good about this. This is a, to me, like pretty funny project. And next week we can keep building on this to make even more video game elements. So I'm going to publish this and then open a new project to work on Luke's debugging. I'm going to call it otter versus fish versus dragon. And if anyone wants to reference my code, I am posting the link directly to my project in the chat. Okay, awesome. Luke, I'm copying and pasting your code in now so I can help you debug it. Oh, it's not coming up because I'm not in the Grumpy Cat Returns project. Let me do that. There we go. All right, and then your repeat function. This looks right so far. It's following my mouse around. Perfect. I really like this color you chose too. This is a really pretty, like, powdery blue color. All right, I think we found the problem part, maybe. No, not yet. So this looks good. And for those of you who are following along, my finished project is in the chat. I'm helping Luke debug his work right now. This looks awesome. So it's probably in this last part where our issue is. Okay, and it is. Awesome. So one way that we can use to sort of debug these programs is to do what I just did and sort of just comment out a piece at a time, and it can help you find out what was wrong. Because this was working up until I added this last part, I know that this is where my issue is. Okay, awesome. So Luke, it looks like you're just missing part of your code here. So here I need to finish this if statement, and then I also need to close my canvas function. So here I needed this like open curly bracket, this closed curly bracket, and then this closed curly bracket here to end that whole area for the function. So now I can say, like, if mouse.x is less than 160 or mouse.y is greater than 140, I can instead say message.message equals yum. There you go. So let me go ahead and just publish this so you can just have the code. And that's it. We have 2 minutes left here. Let me see what people have been working on, see if I can pull up any projects. Let's see. Wayne looks like he has a cool one. Wayne, do you mind if I share your project? No. So actually, yeah, this one's amazing. So Luke's, that would be, you would have to move it into the repeat instead of the click area, if that makes sense. So you'd want to be looking for that all the time instead of just when you click. So this is someone's project. They actually used a boy instead of a cat. It looks like the boy is asking for food and then goes to eat the cat food, and things don't go well for this child after it eats the cat food. Incredible, so good. Just to show you guys how to answer Luke's question, and then we'll jump off because we're at time. So Luke's, I reopened your project here. Here it's like doing the thing. If I click it, it says yum. If I moved this, so I took this if statement including the curly brace, the stuff inside, and this curly brace, and moved it instead up into the repeat function. Now, it should do it, just if I move my mouse. Why is that not working? Oh, because I need to move message. So message was getting created under this, so it wasn't updating. I have to move message up here. Okay, so now when I hover over this, it says yum instead of when I click. And that's because I just moved this into the repeat function. So let me publish this as well and send you this code. Let me see if anyone else posted something before I hop off for the day. No, looks like we didn't really get anything else. Yeah, of course. So Luke, I think I posted the project link, but there's the actual code. Cool. Well, thank you all for coming today. Like I said, we're at time, we're actually over time. So I'll close off today, but let me know if you liked this project and like this sort of route we're going with, like doing stuff more with interaction in video games. And if there's any projects specifically that you have in mind that you want to work on, let me know, and we can always do that in club as well. All right, bye everyone.